rain is falling on a brand new surface here at the Aldo Scribante circuit. The Sasol GTC Championship welcomes you to Port Elizabeth for round 5 of the ever compelling 2018 season. It's the home turf for both the Volkswagen and Audi teams this weekend, and there's some competitive racing surely coming your way. Michael Stephen has been the standout driver in GTC since the very beginning of the championship. When you take a look back at his lengthy career, there's no surprise why he's carrying that number 1 on the door of his Audi.
You know, motorsport and any sport is very much about self-belief. You often have that voice inside of you wondering if you can do it, but once you sort of get that first win, that first championship under the belt, it becomes a lot easier to carry that momentum forward.
And winning is what Michael Stephen does best. Knowing from an early age he was destined to race, he's gone on to become one of the most celebrated names in South African motorsport thanks to a stellar 2 decades of success on track.
As a youngster wanting to be involved in motorsport and karting, I remember, you know, being at the track watching stars, and I think the bug really bit. It was 1988, and they had a local outdoor kart track down at the beachfront. And when I got in it, I knew, you know, that was something that I wanted to do. You know, the love for it, the passion for it, you know, sort of sparked immediately, and you know when something's just right.
Amassing 15 South African national titles, including his 2 most recent back-to-back championships in Sasol GTC, the Port Elizabeth driver is undoubtedly one of the most versatile winning steerers in the sport.
When we went to the S4s and sort of won the championship in 2011, followed that up in 2012 and did the hat-trick in, I think it was 2013, that was sort of, you know, what cemented authority in main circuit, if you wanted to call that. For me, it's also quite an achievement in terms of the first championship was in a front-wheel drive, second championship was in a 4-wheel drive, and, you know, a couple in rear-wheel drive. So I was able to be fast in sort of anything that I've driven. And when GTC, you know, came on board the first season, new cars, rear-wheel drive, and to go and win the first season, then, you know, wrap that up with the second season as well, you know, another achievement that I'm proud of.
With a partnership spanning 18 years with Terry Moss Racing, the 37-year-old also acts as team manager for Engine Audi by day, overseeing the preparation of both cars in the workshop while also being hands-on with the cars himself at race weekends. And it's that mechanical prowess that stands him apart from most.
I studied mechanical engineering. I did my master's in engineering, and I think that ties up well with being a racing driver. Often you've got drivers who can drive a car super fast, but don't know how to make it go fast if it's not fast. And I can sort of marry the two and actually get the most out of both the driving and the engineering of the car. You know, really being able to, on weekends when things really aren't going well, is to salvage that 3rd place or 2nd place as a result of trying to, you know, put things together. Motorsport isn't always about winning, it's about winning when you can and about doing the best that you can do when you can't win.
Well, a good portion of the Sasol GTC field is based locally in Port Elizabeth, and earlier in the race weekend, the Volkswagen and Audi teams visited the local Volkswagen plant, showcasing their GTC cars to the biggest fans. Signature Motorsport, meanwhile, took a trip through the Federal Mogul Payan plant, getting to meet and greet with their suppliers and corporate partners. Well, qualifying was run in damp conditions, which made the going tough for both the Sasol GTC and GTC2 fields. Brad Liebenberg was 3rd in GTC2, Charles Smallberger an outstanding 2nd, the best result of his season so far. But there was no surprise with the pole sitter. For the 5th straight time this year, Keegan Masters, the defending champion, was on top. In Sasol GTC, the Rustenburg Rocket qualified 3rd, that's a PB for Michael van Rooyen. Simon Moss was on the front row, and locking it out was the champion, Michael Stephen. It's the 4th time this year the Audis have filled the front row in qualifying in Sasol GTC. And Philip is down talking to the pole man, Michael Stephen.
Michael Stephen, pole position here at Aldo Scribante, and another front row lockout for Engine Audi. Well done.
Yeah, fantastic result for the team. Got a little bit stressed in the session. Went out the pit, 2nd lap, the clutch started slipping, so didn't know if I was going to make it to the end. Got worse and worse. I tried to do a cool down lap at the end, but I think we're just fortunate enough, to get it to the end, and obviously the mechanics are working hard now to get it race ready.
We know that this is your home track, but what is it about this particular circuit that makes you guys go so fast?
I think obviously we've done probably, I don't know how many thousands of laps around here, and the circuit's just been resurfaced. We were fortunate enough to have a test session last week, and I think that's given us the upper hand. Obviously with the rain yesterday, the other guys never got to experience the track, but I think whether the race comes wet or dry, I think we've got the pace to stay out front.
All right, well, good luck for the race, and also congratulations on 5,000 Rand. Thanks to Dunlop.
Yeah, thanks Dunlop, always welcome.
Well, the rain's coming down on the Engen Audis that will fill the front row here at Aldo Scribante. It's been an impressive performance from the locally based team as they look to challenge for the championship lead. Simon Moss is one of the front row qualifiers. He's down on the grid chatting to Philippa.
Almost ready for race one. Simon Moss qualified alongside your teammate Michael Stephen. Now, the last time we raced in the wet here at PE was 2 years ago. How much more slippery is it with this new surface?
Yeah, last year, 2016, when we raced in the wet, there was so much grip. It was actually incredible. We've got so much less grip. It's chaos out there. We're sliding, we're slipping. Feels like you're on a slippery side with some sunlight liquid. That's how you can say how it feels. So, going into race one, hopefully we don't go off. It's very easy to go off in those conditions. So let's see and hope we can keep it together.
All right, good luck, mate.
Cheers.
He's got a smile on his face, and he should do so because this is a terrific little racetrack and his home racetrack as well. 2.48 Ks, 8 turns, a top speed of 230 kilometres an hour, and they're flat out for quite a lot of it. And it's perhaps most famous for the big controversial clash between Gennaro Bonafide and Michael Stephen at this round 12 months ago. So the scene is set, and in wet conditions we see the Engen Audis 1 and 2, Michael Stephen and Simon Moss on the front row of the grid, Michael van Rooyen and Johan Ferré on the second row, and Gennaro Bonafide, the championship leader, a long way down the field. Robbie Walk and Matt Hodges, the Volkswagens, a little bit further back. Keegan Masters leads GTC 2. Charles Smallberger is next. Brad Liebenberg and Trevor Bland make up the second row of the grid, with Devin Robertson, Adrian Wood, Bob Neal and Dane Angel rounding out this strong field here at Port Elizabeth. So really difficult conditions on a newly resurfaced circuit, which in the dry is tremendous, but in the wet it makes it really perilous. So this rush down towards turn one and the big stop from 200 plus kilometres an hour is going to be really interesting. Away we go, 12 laps the distance, well into the second half of the season, and the Audis are 1 and 2. So it's a battle between the teammates. They thread the eye of the needle through turn one. Good start, Michael van Rooyen. Slots in behind the two Engen cars as they go through the S's. Lots of standing water. The camber on the roads means that it sits down in the apex, so they're splashing through the puddles. There is zero traction in that part of the road. This is a GTC 2 field. Van Rooyen backwards, off the road he goes. He's the first victim of a wet, slippery, brand new race surface. Off he goes, avoids contact with anything, but third place will become last in a heartbeat for the Rustenburg Rocket. So the defending champion leads the field, and it split the pack. Van Rooyen coming off. The Engen Audis now 1 and 2, and then there's a big margin back to third place, and it's the first of the Volkswagens in Daniel Rowe, who's made good ground on this opening lap. There's Matt Hodges going around the outside of Robert Walk. Can't get through. Terrific battle now down the straight. We're on board with Moss. And goes down the inside at turn one. Big move for Simon Moss. Can he get it stopped? No, he can't. He's off the road. Massive attempt to grab the lead, but couldn't get the Audi stopped. And Michael Stephen goes first, second, first again, and almost collected, getting back onto the road. The BMWs and Volkswagens that are fighting over what is now second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth position. Wild moment. Wild moment. He had a great run coming out of the final corner, Simon Moss, but just couldn't pull the car up in time. So takes a trip off into the gravel, and he's still sliding car 38 around, but instantly back on the offensive and goes down the inside of Johan Ferré, shows the nose on the EPS BMW, and it might take a couple of corners, but I think he may well get by here. No, he's going to be on the wrong side of the road. What a bit of motor racing that was. And the seas have just parted for Michael Stephen, if you pardon the wet weather related pun, because he's just driven off into the distance now. While all this has gone on behind him, now Ferré looks down the inside of Daniel Rowe, who firmly shuts the door. And Hodges goes up the inside of Robert Walk, who was a winner at this venue 12 months ago for the first time in his GTC career. Wow, what a 2.48 kilometres that was. Here's Moss. He's got a view of Spray. He's following Johan Ferré at turn 1. And they both gobble up Daniel Rowe. Bonafide's through there as well in front, struggling to put the horsepower to the ground. So while that's been going on, there's been a fight in GTC 2, and that's Keegan Masters, the pole sitter, off the road. Uncharacteristic mistake from our reigning champion. So Simon Moss was off the road in Sasol GTC. In GTC 2, it was the pole sitter. So Keegan Masters off the road, a long way off, in fact, and loses a bunch of spots, in fact, behind Dane Angel in the Honda. So he's now got a lot of work to do. Well, wet conditions, they just add extra spice, don't they? Every single time. So a reset. That was Michael Stephen driving off into the distance. There he is, and you can get an indication now of that margin back to Gennaro in second place. Here's Moss. He's in a hurry to make up for that error at turn 1 and climbs back to third place with a nice move on Johan Ferré. Good pass. And Bonafide's now in an Audi sandwich. Wasn't a particularly good qualifying performance from Gennaro. The VM Innovation Sasol BMWs haven't been particularly strong. Here's a move. Johan's looking good though. Return of serve on Simon Moss. This long, constant radius final corner. You could hear them just gently applying the throttle in these wet conditions through the Dunlop wet tyres. Now it's a drag race down the start-finish straight. BMW's got the inside running, but I reckon there's a little bit more grip on the outside where Simon Moss is. There is. He turns in the wheel tracks of Bonafide and just holds on that position, though Johan's going to fight for it, as the big man from Cape Town always does. But there, through the S's, Moss finally asserts his spot in third place, or does he? Struggling for traction on corner exit. Down in this little compression, the road rises there as they go up through the right-hander. So this is a look at that from Daniel Rowe's car, who has a very big slide all the way around, and he was almost collected by his teammate. That was an enormous moment. Two-time race winner this year. Well, Matt Hodges has not had a lot of luck this season. Maybe his luck has just turned, because he dodged a bullet there, Matrix style. He slid out of the way as the seas parted and his teammate spun in front of him. What a moment. What an opening 4 laps this has been. There's still 8 to go. Meanwhile, it's all teeing off in GTC 2, and the Signature Motorsport Minis are hunting in pairs, and Charles Smallberg is the next one to make an error. Falling foul to slippery conditions and drives off the road in his Volkswagen. And that elevates Devin Robertson to the point now. So first it was Keegan Masters, then it was Charles Smallberger. You don't want to be a Volkswagen in the lead today. And Liebenberg now has got a windscreen filled with his teammate, who's been in great form in the last couple of rounds. Devin Robertson has been a massive improver, the reigning Polo Cup champion. Stepped up into this outfit this year. It was a learning experience for the first couple of rounds. Stepped onto the podium at Killarney in round 2. Riding on board with him now as he goes down into turn 1. And then grabbed a victory at East London last time out. Was very, very pleased with that. So this is Michael Van Rooyen. He's coming through the field and working his way through the production-based runners in GTC 2, and there's contact. His day goes from bad to worse. It's not been a great day for MVR after a really stout performance in qualifying. Still on the lap 5 of 12, by the way. It feels like we've had most of a season in the opening couple of laps. There's been so much action. And now Moss, traditionally good drive out of that final corner. The Engine Audi will try and sail around the outside of Bonafide. Well, he gets it done before the braking zone at turn 1. So that shows the additional traction he got coming out of the final corner. The Terry Moss Racing team snuck in a test day at this circuit before the round. They were the only team to do so, but it was in dry conditions. So when it rained in Friday practice, it really did level the playing field, because the grip levels changed completely. It's a whole new playing field. So Bonafide relegated back in the Audi. Situation normal for them, 1 and 2. And now Johan Ferrari capitalises on a small error for Bonafide, who runs a little bit wide. And the EPS car goes through, and that should be third place. Check that for you. Excited crowd watching on. Despite these wet conditions, a great turnout. Crowds have been tremendous at the circuits this year, and why wouldn't they with the kind of racing we've been seeing? Well, Michael Stephen, I'm sure it's been hard work, hasn't had a huge amount to do because he's had clear racetrack. These two haven't. Wheel to wheel, Brad Liebenberg, car 12, jumps in front of Devin Robertson, outbrakes himself into the final corner. Dev looks back up the inside. They'll go wheel to wheel. Terrific scrap at the front in GTC 2. And I may as well just copy and paste that because I say it at every single round of this great championship. This time, though, it's a mini domination. Oh, Neil in the Ford. Just drops it off the road there. Well, it actually made Michael Stevens' day a little bit early, or a little bit easier. He was just trying to work his way past the lap traffic. So just the one win so far this season for Mike, defending champion. Season started off with the DNF, round 1. Kyle Lamy after that big crash with Johan Ferrari, but since then he's not finished outside the top 3. And that relentless consistency that we saw from the Engine Audi driver last season has been a hallmark of his championship campaign. Fight behind now with Simon Moss pulling away from the 2 BMWs. We're on board with Gennaro Bonafide. Looks down the inside of Johan Ferrari. Couldn't quite get it done down at turn 1. Just driving these cars so smoothly in these wet conditions, feeding the throttle in, and a big grab of oversteer as he hits some water on the corner exit there. But Ferrari is driving really nicely. That car straight, not sliding around too much. And Gennaro having to work very hard in the Sasol BMW behind. This was always going to be a tough weekend for that team. Home turf for their arch rivals up the road at Engine Audi. And they're 1 and 2 at the moment. Bonafide again, just showing the nose. Go back to Matt Hodges. Consistent performance there. This is a very, very important round for the Volkswagen team. Like Terry Moss Racing, it's their home turf. This is the centre of Volkswagen's production capability here in South Africa. Bonafide, that's a big moment. That was an enormous moment. And at no point did it look like that car was going to stop. He went for an opportunity. There was a hole there up the inside of Johan Ferrari. But as soon as he tried to go, he locked the rear brakes and he pirouetted off into the muck. And now he's got Robert Walk right behind him. Now he's got Robert Walk right alongside him, so his teammate goes through. We spoke about this being a tough weekend potentially for championship contender. Now he's behind his teammate, kicking up the dust on the inside. A little bit of contact even perhaps between the two of them. Now he goes past. Well, that was an interesting moment. He saw the opportunity to try and get through on Johan. The BMWs were battling, but just couldn't quite pull it off and ended up overcommitting, going too hot. And grabbed the rear brakes. Wild moment for Gennaro. Uncharacteristic error, it must be said. Let's ride with Daniel Rowe. He's got a couple of signature minis in front. And Neil in the Fiesta has a big tank slapper. Sliding off he goes. So this is an awkward situation with the 89 car on the comeback trail. He's working his way through the GTC 2 cars who are fighting for their own race win. So this is an interesting moment. Liebenberg needs to play this one smart. Well, what a story it's been. Michael Stephen won't believe the race report when he reads it if he can bring this one home, because so much has gone on behind car number 1. He's just been cruising serenely away out in front. So that's the margin, 1 to 2. Back to Ferrari in third. And behind him, the Volkswagen Jetta of Matt Hodges, looking for what could be his best result of the season so far. What's been a very tough season. Daniel Rowe's been doing a lot of winning. Those reverse grid wins have been so unbelievably impressive. Hodges had a 5th in the opening race of the championship. It's been slim picking since then. A lot of bad luck, a lot of mechanical failures. As we ride on board with Adrian Wood in the Kia Sierra car. Some new support from Omni Technologies. A few other businesses jumping on board with the Volkswagen GTC 2 runner. First time in the GTC Championship this year. So in difficult conditions, Michael Stephen has used all his experience. He's a lap and a half away from a second race win. His customary smooth and controlled style behind the wheel of car number 1. And what about Simon Moss? There's been some energy behind car number 38 today. Some bold moves. Some of them didn't work, but sometimes you've just got to take a chance, and that's what he did. And ultimately, he's got himself back up to second place where he started. 1 lap to go, 2.5 kilometres. And a dry line starting to emerge. The wet Dunlop tyres are getting a workout this season, but they've done their job. You can quite visibly see where there's more grip now on the racetrack. Here's Michael Stephen. Just got to maintain this margin. A vastly experienced double champion. One of the best in South African motorsport over the last couple of years at a circuit named after one of the great patriarchs of the sport, Aldo Scribante. Invested a lot of his time and money into race teams and drivers back in the South African F1 days in open wheel racing. This circuit named after him and continued investment into it. Scribante Group resurfacing it before this weekend, which was great to see. Keegan Masters won't like the view of Michael Stephen going past, but he's got to deal with that. And this will be a very big moment for the defending champion. He was a winner at Zwartkops in round 3 up there in Pretoria. It's been a tough road so far, a consistent one though for car number 1. And out of the final corner for his second win of the season, through the rain comes the champion Michael Stephen. Leads an Engine Audi 1 and 2 on their home racetrack. And you better believe he's happy about that. Great recovery drive for Simon Moss back to second place. And how about this battle? What a huge performance this is for Signature Motorsport. 1 and 2, and Devin Robertson looking for his second win of the season as well. And Brad Liebenberg now has a real challenge on his hands because he's been the lone hand for a long time trying to take the fight to Keegan Masters in GTC 2. But now his teammate's doing it as well. So there's an inter-team battle that really is worth watching. That's going to be great to follow as this season progresses. Car number 20 leads car number 12, champion in front of Ferodo. And Devin Robertson will score a race win in the rain. And another 1-2 performance. It's 1-2s all round here at Aldo Scribante. Port Elizabeth has turned it on in race 1, the Sasol GTC Championship. What a race. What a story there is to tell. Robertson, Liebenberg 1 and 2, Smallberger on the podium in 3rd. The big story, Keegan Masters finishing 6th. And how about that controlling performance from the driver of car number 1? Michael Stephen wins for the second time this year. Moss fights his way back to second. And Johan Farie's great form continues with 3rd. Well done, Matt Hodges too. Best result of the season in 4th.
Michael Stephen, a very tricky race in the wet conditions, but that gap certainly helped.
Yeah, fantastic race. And firstly, a big credit to the team. We had a slipping clutch in qualifying, and they did a tremendous job to get the gearbox out, new clutches in, and get me on the grid. The car was brilliant. It was on rails throughout the race, even though it was quite wet out there. Managed to pull a lead in the first couple of laps, and then from there just control it. And I checked behind me and just picked my braking marks and sort of controlled that gap to the end.
Aldo Scribante is a small circuit, so you're always going to get lap traffic, but how much more difficult is it in wet conditions?
Yeah, it's quite tricky because you obviously, dry lines started coming up and you have to overtake offline, so you're not quite sure of what to expect. But the guys in front are also seasoned competitors, so a couple of them put the indicators on and let us through. The last lap there was a yellow flag into happen and Keegan was like saying go through, and I'm like no, just wait, and waited for the yellow flag and then went past. So, but yeah, no, it wasn't too much of an issue.
Right, good luck from the back in race 2.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Hope there's some more rain.
Devin Robertson, what a race to win! Congratulations on another victory in GTC 2.
Thank you. It was super close. Me and Brad had an awesome race. We managed to get through in the beginning, and then it was us basically 1 and 2 for the whole. He passed me, I passed him. It was a good race, but I mean obviously it needs to be clean because we're teammates. and the race was awesome.
Johan Free, third place. You've got a bit of damage at the front of your BMW. I assume that's a love tap to Simon Moss in front of you. It's still hard to beat those two Audis.
Yeah, it's the home track, and I mean, we didn't have any dry running, but Simon went off the track as well, and then we had a bit of a dice for a couple of laps, I think. And yeah, coming out the S's, I think he was just too slow on the traction, and my traction was good, so I had to get out the front, or I would have taken him out. But yeah, it wasn't too malicious, and it wasn't too obvious. Yeah, so.
Good to see you on the podium.
Yeah, great thing.
Well done to Michael, Stephen and Devin Robertson, winners in race 1 here at Port Elizabeth, but the challenge just gets bigger for them now. They go off the back of the grid in the reverse grid race. That's coming your way next.
As the title fight heats up towards the final few rounds of 2018, it's about time the drivers let off some steam. So thanks to Michael Stevens' MSR for karting outfit in PE, the drivers hit the track for the inaugural Race with GTC Kart Day with some very special guests.
Yeah, well, yeah, at Chelsea's Scribante kart circuit, and you know, it's something slightly different. We've got GTC fans and some GTC drivers, and we just here to have a day of corporate karting and you know, a bit of fan engagement.
With the winners chosen via GTC's online competition, fans came from Cape Town, East London, as well as those living in PE to pair up with their GTC heroes.
It's very exciting, yeah. I didn't expect to win, but yeah, I got the message on Facebook and I couldn't believe it.
I'm a huge Audi fanatic, so I always root for the Audis. Best car on the track, obviously.
Lots of competition, lots of excited people. Awesome.
You know, I think we'll just have a little bit of fun. Obviously get to know the fans of GTC, get to know each other as drivers a little bit more.
Nice to mingle with the crowd and see faces, and yeah, it's really great. We should do more of this.
With practice and qualifying done, and egos starting to get bruised, it was time for the Le Mans style start, with chaos unfolding for the Mini Enduro. In the end, it was victory for Volkswagen on home soil, and irrespective of the results, it was still outright fun for everyone involved.
I wasn't aware that the fans chose their drivers, so obviously it's a huge honour that he chose me.
Oh, it's been an awesome day, great experience, and yeah, obviously to share it with Daniel.
I always obviously thought that Michael was the innocent one and all the other guys are the ugly ones, but they're all really nice guys.
He drove very well for the first time on this track, so might have to get a third GTC car ready soon.
PE, you know, the fans they come out in thousands to the racetrack, and to have many of them here to come and support and you know engage with us today is absolutely great.
Well, the rain has cleared and the sun is poking through the clouds here in Port Elizabeth, but that doesn't mean the drama has stopped. On the formation lap, Gennaro Bonafiti's number 32 BMW lost a wheel unbelievably. The VM Innovations team have had to work very, very quickly to allow the driver from Johannesburg to take up his position, grid number 4, this reverse grid race. And that is a critical moment for one of our key championship contenders. Talking about title contenders, they're spread throughout this field. The closest Sasol GTC fight yet. But it's Michael Van Rooyen who starts this one from pole alongside Daniel Rowe. Remember, he's won these races twice this year. Walken Bonafiti on the second row, Hodges and Ferree next. And it's Moss and Stephen from the fourth row of the grid, the back of the Sasol GTC group. And that is going to be exciting. The GTC2, Bob Neal, Adrian Wood on the front, Keegan Masters and Dane Angel next. Trevor Bland, Charles Smallberger, Brad Liebenberg and Dev Robinson round out the field. 15 laps the journey, reverse grid racing. We're underway for race 2 in Port Elizabeth. The grid slightly spread out for this rolling start, which might help them down here at turn 1. Just negotiated in still very difficult conditions. And while the sun is out, they are definitely still on wet weather tyres. You can see the track conditions haven't improved significantly since race 1. But now there's some sunshine. They will dry quicker with these cars moving water off the racing line. Already positions made up for the two N-Gen Audis. They've worked their way past, well, Simon Moss has anyway, past Johan Ferree. Van Rooyen, slight rise into the braking zone. Right-hander, here's Moss now, down the inside of Hodges. That's big. That was huge. Came from a long way back, but got it stopped. The car didn't really want to. You could see it was fighting him for traction in the braking zone, but somehow made it work. Adrian Wood leads the GTC 2 pack. His teammate is in there as well after a strange performance in race 1 for Keegan Masters. Now down the inside of Bonafide. What an opening lap this is. The hip and shoulder in full effect there for Simon Moss. Oh, run away from that, Marshall, because that was enormous. Let's see that again. So Bonafide gets hip and shouldered out wide here by Moss. Pushed out into the grass. Slides around. Now watch this from Hodges. What a bit of car control. Sliding his way towards the pit fence, taking evasive action from the BMW coming back on the road, and somehow keeps it pointing in the right direction. That was a crazy bit of motor racing. You can see why the starting official there on the grid took a step or two backwards, because had a Volkswagen pointing at them for a while. Wow, what an opening lap. Simon Moss, really aggressive, up to 4th place. And looking like there's possibly more moves to come. Robbie Walk is his next target. Michael Van Rooyen leads the way. Daniel Rowe next. MVR still looking for his first race win. Here goes Moss. He's making a habit of this move. He's making a habit of using the fenders if he needs to. Just move Robbie Walk out of the way and grabs that position. So he moves to 3rd. Walk back to 4th. The second Volkswagen of Matt Hodges is next. Still gathering himself after that massive slide a lap ago. Now for the lead. Down the inside goes Daniel Rowe. Car 89 up the inside of the Rustenburg Rocket. And Rowe is in front. Aggressive, and off goes Van Rooyen. He was just elbowed out. He ran out of racing room. And there's no traction out there. There's not much on the racetrack, it must be said, but Van Rooyen goes from first to last in the space of 500 metres. And now the Volkswagen Jetta finds himself in front. And Simon Moss in 3 laps has gone from 7th up to 2nd. What a starring performance this has been in the opening couple of laps. Walk remains in 3rd. Hodges is 4th. Then we go back to Johan Ferré and Michael Stephen. And Gennaro Bonafide now has only Michael Van Rooyen, the Sasol GTC cars, behind him. Daniel Rowe, twice a winner this year. Hodges from a long way back. Call the Royal Mail because he posted that one. It went a long way. And the old over-under move works a treat there for Robert Walk. Didn't quite pull off for car number 57. He's now got Johan Ferré behind him. You can hear the crowd cheering as they go round through the back of the circuit. A lot of local fans cheering on local drivers. The 2 in the lead. The 2 teams in the lead are from this part of the world. There's a lot of local significance here in the Port Elizabeth region in the Sasol GTC Championship. Now for the race lead. In 4 laps, Simon Moss gets to the front. An aggressive, breathtaking opening couple of laps. And car 38 leads the way. 2 hands on the wheel, thank you, Simon. Oh, it's too early to celebrate yet, my friend. That was a great move, but you might want to focus on the Volkswagen that's right behind your rear wing. Well, party time in car 38. Now he needs to focus, eyes forward, and try and build this margin. Robert Walks now making a comeback drive, so he's been off the road and working his way through the GTC 2 cars. Adrian Wood in the Kia Sera car is next on his hit list and sliding the Mini out off the road. Well, in the context of the moments we've already seen in this race, it wasn't a massive one for Bradley Liebenberg. The Ferrari Mini was second last time out. So, Moss, lap 5 now, crosses the strike. The leading 4 cars are running line astern, and with Robbie Walk coming off the road and dropping down the field, it's brought Michael Stephen into the game now. So he's 5th. We've got this great fight going on for 3rd, 4th and 5th position. Van Rooyen looking on Bonafide, this further back. So as always, the reverse grid race is turning the action on. Action everywhere you look, contact! Oh, there wasn't a hole there, Michael. Contact to the rear of Gennaro Bonafide. He was sliding, so he did have a delay coming out of the corner before. There really wasn't a gap down the inside, though. Oh, I don't know if race control will look at that too fondly. Though generally front corner to rear corner of the car in front isn't looked on too favourably. Bonafide ends off up in the rubble once again this weekend. There's Robert Walk back with the GTC 2 runners. So this fight's starting to build now as well. And Adrian Wood coming under pressure from Bradley Liebenberg. Just behind them is Keegan Masters, the champion. And then it's Dane Angel in that ever-improving Honda Type R that gets better and better at every round as they continue to punch away and develop it against the factory-style teams that are racing at the front of the field. This has been a good performance by the Kia Sarah entry at a track that this weekend has been the domain of the signature Mini Cooper S as well. Dane Angel, we were talking up his performance. Aggressive little move up the inside of Devin Robertson. Here's Daniel Rowe. He was in second place. He's in first now. What's happened to Simon Moss? He's in behind his teammate. I was worried when he started celebrating in the car there. It was too early to party. He's dropped off the road somewhere, we can only assume, and fallen back to fifth place behind his teammate. Here it is. Let's listen. Oh, just an error getting into the right-hander. Overcooked it. And there go the leaders. Oh, and almost gets collected by his teammate, Michael Stephen, coming through. That was just a mistake in changing grip conditions. Simon Moss overestimated his braking performance, ran the car off the road, and drops back again through the field. He's making a habit of it this weekend. Certainly got the raw speed to charge his way forward. So while that was going on, this great fight in GTC 2 continues. Robertson holds on to it. Or does he? Yes. I was worried for a moment there. It's a big rut on the exit of that corner, and the transition back onto the bitumen was a savage one. But somehow he held on to it. And it's a fight in 3 for the lead in GTC 2. And now down the inside goes Keegan Masters. Brad Liebenberg sliding this car around. This is terrific racing. So first, second, third locked together. Then we go back to Charles Smallberger. He's got Robinson behind him. Dane Angel's dropped a few spots after making aggressive moves earlier on. We're halfway through this race now. And check out this leading group of cars. 2 Volkswagens, the lone BMW of Johan Ferré in the middle of them. And then there's the 2 Engen Audis from Terry Moss Racing looming, stalking like they always seem to do, especially in these reverse grid races. Michael Stephen. Does he go? Does he go? Well, he certainly thinks about it. Ferré just missed the apex going there, and it left the door open slightly for the champion to go through, and Simon Moss doesn't find himself with any room. So Stephen goes past. And where the water's been cleared, the drier line is bigger, but it doesn't matter because Stephen gets turfed off the road at high speed. It's not the first time they've occupied the same bit of tarmac this year. Whoa. Straight away to the starter button to get this car refired. High speed incident. Fortunately this time there's no damage for either of them. But that was big. It was almost like Stephen felt like he had that move complete. But Johan Ferré was still there and found himself an Audi turning across in front of him. Robertson dives down the inside of Charles Smallberger, who thinks nothing of returning serve. The over-under works perfectly for car 15, retakes what is third position in GTC 2. That was an amazing bit of racing. So Michael Stephen now will end up where Gennaro Bonafide is, right at the back of the field. The Volkswagens, meantime, are 1 and 2. For Mike Rowe and the Volkswagen team watching on from pit lane, this will be music to their ears. For Matt Hodges, even better. We spoke in race 1 about how difficult his season's been. It could be about to get better. He sends it down the inside of his teammate. Little bit too hot. It'll leave the door open for car 89 to fight back. Fisticuffs between the teammates. Daniel Rowe takes the lead back. Simon Moss is in the back seat. And believe it or not, he's back into third position. Extraordinary exchange. Now Moss has a look. And the leaders, well, there's nothing between them. Johan Ferré sitting back there in 4th place has got a great bird's eye view of this. Feel for the TV director. Don't know where to look in this because the fight for GTC 2 is just as good. And it's between 5 cars. So it's still Volkswagen in front here. So the V-Dubs lead both the classes at the moment, but the way it's been changing, don't know how that's going to work in another 6 laps time. So here they go. Here goes Moss. Debris on the road. Doesn't worry about that. 38 car goes back to 2nd place. He's got so much grip offline, so he's able to make these moves. Whatever they've done with this car this weekend, maybe it's just the driver. You could see how jazzed up he was behind the wheel when he grabbed the lead earlier on in this race. Now on Daniel Rowe for the lead. For the lead, he goes down the inside and gets it, wasting no time to get back in front. There won't be any celebrations this time though. He's made an error, he's run wide, and Daniel Rowe fights back down the inside. Another lead change. I've lost count of how many there have been in this race. Wheel to wheel into turn one, elbows out, Volkswagen inside, Audi on the out, and he gets into the wet road on the outside of the road and loses the spot again. Breathless display of racing. What's going on here? Off the road goes Devin Robertson. The fight's on for the lead. There were fisticuffs there between Adrian Wood and Brad Liebenberg. Keegan Masters got an advantage through all of that as well. This is crazy. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's all you can say about what's going on at Port Elizabeth. Can we race here every week, please? Just add water. Doesn't it add to the spectacle? So now it's car number 12 leading the defending champion in GTC 2. And these two great rivals have had some tremendous battles over the last 18 months or so. Adrian Wood back now in the pack. Charles Smallberger having a terrific weekend. And look at the way he's driving this mini Brad Liebenberg, sliding it round, struggling for traction, just extending the grip level and finding traction where there is none. Another example there, out over that concrete runoff area. And this resurfaced circuit in the future is going to generate so much traction when it rubbers up, but there's been none of that this weekend because of the wet weather. Let's ride with Keegan. And that camera angle is actually a decent representation of the glare that the drivers will be dealing with as well. The sun's starting to set. We won't have to worry about the glare as Smallberger sends it from a long way back, but it was too fast, too hot, Bonafide style, but this time he's found the wall and punches a hole in the Dunlop signage. Smallberger with a big accident at the final corner. The Dunlop hairpin has claimed one of our contenders. Charles moving around in the car, he seems to be okay. Had that big off at Cape Town earlier this year at Kalani Raceway at the final corner too, so hairpin bends, right-hand hairpin bends have not been a favoured corner for the privateer runner this season. Looks like he's okay though. Bonafide now with Michael Stephen wheel to wheel. And Stephen's on the comeback trail. Both of these drivers, they battled for the championship last year, are making their way through the field, and it was this race 12 months ago where they had that very controversial coming together. They just turned that championship battle up to 11. Charles is out of the car. He's all right. He'll go and watch the rest of this race from the spectators' hill there. His damaged Volkswagen Polo will take no further part. So, the leaders, we just take a breath as Daniel Rowe enjoys a car length or two over Simon Moss. Hodges still third. Johan Ferree in fourth place. Here's Moss. This time again, there's the great traction out of the slow speed corners. He's selecting gears very low in the rev range. Serves as a bit of a traction control, but he's off the road again. Well, he has thrown everything, including, I think, the kitchen sink at this race. Simon Moss doing everything in his power to wrestle the lead away. And every time he makes an attempt, Daniel Rowe is there to fend it off. And he leads with 2.5 laps to go. Trevor Bland now finds himself in the thick of the action as the GTC 2 pack just settles down, as Liebenberg pulling a margin now over his rival Keegan Masters. We ride on board with the defending champion, the factory Volkswagen. So Liebenberg last one at Zwartkops. Masters has won twice in the last 2 rounds. Brad's got a couple of wins to his credit as well this season, but it really has been wide open in GTC 2 all season long. Leading trio bunch themselves up. Van Rooyen under pressure. Moss making another overtake. This is number 465 for the race so far. Goes up the inside, gets it done. Interesting to note that MVR's got that side skirt coming off that car again. I seem to remember 12 months ago he had exactly the same problem. See it there, the Rustenburg Rocket just holding down. It won't affect the performance of that car too much. He'll be able to fight it all the way to the checkered flag. Volkswagen's 1 and 2. We've seen Hodges make a move already in this one. But now with 2 laps to go, I wonder if the team gets on the radio and goes, okay, boys, we need to worry about Johan Ferré. He's in 3rd. We've got a potential 1-2 in the offing here. Bring it home. 5Ks of racing to go. Another breathless affair in the Sasol GTC Championship. Car control from Daniel Rowe. Karting champion is extraordinary. He was sliding the car through the S's there. He's under searing pressure. Johan would love a win. Back in form. Great weekend at East London last time out. Hodges, though, defending stoutly. Or is he? Long, wide apex into the corner, and Ferré collects him. The 57 car turns around, and just when you thought his bad luck had turned good, it goes the other way again. Ferré up to 2nd. Hodges pointing in the wrong direction. Daniel Rowe now untroubled out in front. There's been more contact in this than in your average Springboks game. 1 lap remaining for Daniel Rowe. Johan Ferré continues this amazing run of form. So he's up to 2nd place and starting perhaps to think that he could be a championship challenger this year as well. You'll remember back earlier this season that Daniel Rowe changed his number, trying to erase the bad luck that he had at the start of the season. He went back to his old karting number that he won all those titles with, and it paid off immediately. He won for the first time earlier this year. Then he won again. Could he do it for a 3rd time? Van Rooyen now down the inside of Moss, who I think's taken the edge off his Dunlop wets with all his off-track excursions. That was a nice pass from car 95. So it's been an up and down season, but the luck certainly has played a role. What about a return pass now for Moss, looking up the inside. They're fighting over the minors. More contact. Par for the course in this one. And off the road goes Michael Van Rooyen, helped off by an aggressive Simon Moss. No such problems for Daniel Rowe. 2 wins already this season. A 3rd will make him the most successful driver in the championship this year. And on home turf, the Volkswagen is going to get a victory. Daniel Rowe, for a 3rd time, is a Sasol GTC winner. Johan Ferré home in 2nd place. And in a crazy, crazy day, Bradley Liebenberg is going to win GTC 2. We're on board with car number 12. You can see the passenger side mirror isn't exactly in a great state of repair. That got folded back, I think, on about lap 5. But he doesn't need to see who's behind him. He'll see the checkered flag first. He'll grab another race win this season. And the Minis are taking the challenge up to Volkswagen in GTC 2. Crazy scenes at Port Elizabeth. Aldo Scribante, you've turned it on today. And to the applause of his local fans, friends and family, Daniel Rowe is a race winner for the 3rd time this season. A lot of local support for both the driver and indeed the team and the brand. That will be a crucial win. Oh, he's going to celebrate by getting out of the car. How good's that? Number 1 for Daniel Rowe, to the joy of the local crowd. Ferré 2nd, Moss up and down the leaderboard like a yo-yo was 3rd. Hodges, a season best 4th, with Van Rooyen fighting his way to 5th place. And check out the championship battle. We've got a new leader. Yep, the defending champion back on top.
Daniel Rowe, you're becoming the master of these reverse grid races now. Congratulations on your 3rd race win of the season.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was struggling a bit in the wet, I think it was just a confidence thing. I've never had much experience in the wet, so I'm slowly learning, looking at data. The team are teaching me something. So Simon tried to pass me a few times. He did get past once, I got past him again. And then he tried to run my outside through Chevy, but the Chevy on the outside was very wet still. So I was on the dry line, and he ran on the wet, and then it went off from there. I was trying to stay ahead of Matthew and Johan, and then I just saw them tangle behind me. I'm not sure what happened. But I just kept it clean and got to the finish.
GTC 2, it's been a weekend for the Minis. Brad Liebenberg beats Keegan Masters home. Devin Robertson on the podium again. Adrian Wood led early, finished 4th. Philip is down talking to the winner.
Brad Liebenberg, very good weekend for Signature Motorsport. 2 double podiums, and congratulations on another race win.
Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend for the team. I mean, you know, we came here looking to get a few points back on Keegan and the VW there, and you know, that was mission accomplished. And obviously in that last race it was a bit of a tricky one. Luckily for us, the semis that we used are also our last year's dry tyres, so you know, handling felt like we were driving in the dry, and yeah, it was just an issue if you stepped off line because it was very wet, and a few of us had a few moments, but you know, I came home with the victory and Devin third, so you know, like I said, it was a fantastic weekend for the team.
It's very important now as we close in on the final few rounds to get those extra championship points against Keegan.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going back to Swartkops next, and you know, that's our hunting ground. We got, I think, our second win there of the season, and you know, this track suits us, and like I say, it's our hunting ground. We're going to hopefully put some more points on the board.
We'll see you at Swartkops.
Cool, perfect.
What another exciting weekend of racing. The Sasol GTC Championship has turned on for us, but the pressure only continues to build. We head towards the end of this amazing championship. Next up, we're at Swartkops Raceway on August 17 to 18. And don't forget, get your tickets now for the Festival of Motoring at Kyalami. It's going to be an amazing weekend as the headline act. But from a crazy Port Elizabeth, it's goodbye for now.
Rise up and face the devil. Rise up.